Hi, I'm Sue Hunton. I'm Tom's wife, and I'm a retired middle school teacher. I used to teach 6th grade for 20 years. So I'm really new to farming. Tom and I have only been married 9 years. When my husband passed away, I met Tom, and I used to live upriver in the trees, no sunlight, much. And then I moved out on the farm, and now I'm in this beautiful open area of several hundred acres where, you know, I get to see a lot of wildlife, and I get to watch the farming, and I'm learning about farming. My learning curve has gone straight up because I knew nothing about farming, nothing about whole grains, and so now I'm the educator for the whole grains that we produce. I think everybody needs to learn about whole grains, but of course my focus really is on educating the next consumers, which are the children. They need to know, what do they taste like? What do they look like? And where do they come from? They get to see vegetables in gardens. They get to see, you know, they know cows give milk, but where did the grains come from that are in their pizza dough or their bread that they eat? And being in the school district that I was in, it was 90% free and reduced. A lot of kids were not getting good nutrition. So it was my goal to start bringing that back into that school system. When I'm teaching and educating, it's usually with the adults that come to the bakery. We do have a little bakery on site that's at our schoolhouse. And so I'm greeting people, and we're also serving them 100% whole grain muffins, scones, cinnamon rolls, cookies, whatever my bakers want to make, and fresh bread that's made in a wood fire oven with a 30-year-old culture that is a pain au levain, baguettes, ciabatta. I'm learning all these, how to say them properly maybe too. And a specialty bread that could be made with a blend of some of the flours. My baker has to use only our flour. So he had to learn also all about whole grain flour because it's not the same. Each flour is different. So I have to talk to those people about that. And then I also do field trips and tours with the children. So we bring kids out to the farm so they can walk out into a field of whatever's coming up, possibly something that was planted in the fall that's now coming up, so they can see what the grain looks like. My really fun story one time was walking out to a field of triticale that we had planted in the fall. And I'm walking out with these kids, and all of a sudden I hear behind me, "Wow, it's a corn maze." And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I have to turn around and say, "Stop. No, it's not a corn maze. It's as tall as a corn plant, and it has large leaves, but it's called triticale," and we went over the word, and we went over what the grain is, so they could learn, you know, this is not corn. It has no stalk, you know, it has grain, and it heads out, it has a flag leaf, and we talk about that feeding the grain. I also run a program of kids that come into the schoolhouse, and we do 5 stations. They're all hands-on. And the first station, they go and they make a little label, put it on a bag. It's usually Camas country, of course, you know, that they have to learn what the flower means, and the symbol is symbolic for the indigenous people that used to dig up the Camas root, roast it, and grind it. So then they go to station 2, and they put on their little hairnet, and they bag a bag of hard white spring wheat, and we let them measure it so they know it's 1 pound, you know, a little math in there, and we staple a little recipe on it. Then they take their little hairnet off and go to station 3, which is my station usually, and I'm talking about preserving history. You're in an 1888 schoolhouse, and all the little pieces of information about that. Then they go to station 4, which is usually one of their favorites, where they get on their hands and knees, and they're pounding stone on stone grain so they can make flour. And it's not easy, and they don't get much, but we tell them that's what the indigenous people did years and years ago to try and create some flour to make their, maybe their flatbread. Then they go to station 5, which is grain in a vase, and there's 5 of them. And then there's the grain in a bag that's been cleaned at our Sea Clean plant. And then there's flour. So they see from the field to cleaning to the flour. and we talk about what is it, and what is it used for. And then at the end of the field trip, the culmination of everything is to sit in the center of the schoolhouse, and we give them an apple carrot muffin that's made with fresh apples, fresh carrots, and the hard white spring wheat, and they're tasting their muffin, and I'm going, okay, you guys, thumbs up or thumbs down, what do you think? And they're like, 2 thumbs up, and I go, that's what it's all about. Changing the palates, teaching them that this is what it should taste like. There should be flavor in your flour. It's moist, and that's the recipe that's on the bag that they take home and make with their parents, hopefully. So that's part of the education. And it's changing those palates that I think is super important, because the adults need to change theirs, but really it's about the children that are going to be the next consumers growing up and needing to know what real food tastes like. At the bakery, we also serve soups that are made with whole grains. That we put lentils in there, we put garbanzos in there, we might have, we have a soup mix that has whole grains and lentils in the soup mix, and there's no seasoning, it's just the soup mix. We serve grain salads out of emmer and spelt and einkorn, and there are a lot of people that have never had a grain salad, just the grain salad with some seasoning and maybe some vegetables in it. And then they want the recipe, and of course I don't have the recipe because my chef in our little bakery, which is very small, we haven't given out the recipe, but we will, and it does help those people to understand, wow, you can add this as a side dish to your dinner, a whole grain salad that's delicious and easy to do. And we have sandwiches, of course. The sandwiches, just a sandwich that's made with our bread, and we source local meats and cheeses and other products to go with that, so everything's made in-house mayonnaise. And this is all done on our little farm. And if you ever come visit us, you'll know it's really small. The bakery's about as big as this area right here. That's it, and a little wood fire oven. And yet we're doing, I think, some really important work in just our little tiny community. So I've been kind of added on. I hope I've given you some information and maybe some other questions that you can ask about how did we get into some school districts, and I'll leave that up to the moderator.